session. Today, I want to talk about embodied sovereignty and what it actually is. I also want to talk about why I think it's important for us as individuals and our culture. And I want to do a couple of live exercises which look at two of the main blocks, two of the main things I think stop us from feeling this sense of sovereignty. And before we really go into the subject, I'd like to talk a bit about why it feels important to me. So if any of the things I mention resonate with you, if you recognize them, just hit yes in the chat. Give me a little notice so I know that something that you connect to as well. And the first thing is I'm an ex-chronic people pleaser. So I used to spend all my time and energy trying to please other people in order to fit in. Okay, a couple of people like, yeah, people pleaser. When I was younger, I did this to the extent that I almost lost my entire sense of identity. I didn't really know who I was. Who the hell am I? I don't know, because all my energy was going out to try and connect with other people, to fit in with other people. So I had no idea what I wanted. If someone asked me, for example, oh, would you like to come to the cinema? What film would you like to watch? I had no idea what film I actually wanted to watch, because my brain was so fast trying to work out, what does this other person want me to say? How can I best fit in with them? So along with, did anyone find it hard to know what they want? Anyone? Let me know. And along with this sense of not knowing what I wanted was this big numbing, trying to numb myself out, because it hurt to feel that I wasn't really there. It hurt to feel I had to do all this intricate dancing to fit in with other people. So I did a lot of pretending to fit in order to connect with other people. And I had very messy boundaries in relationships. And then later on in life, I created Togetherness a few years ago. And the inspiration is, well, how can we come together if we're so divided and we've got different ideas? We're not going to agree on what is the one true system, follow the gourd, follow the sandal, all that kind of stuff. So how can we actually get on together? And in exploring these skills that we need and these practices, it became really clear to me that one of the most fundamental things we need to get on with each other is the ability to say no and to set a boundary and to be authentic with each other. And that's something I'm going to come back to shortly. So let's let's move on to embodied sovereignty. What actually is it? And one thing I want to say is I'm still exploring it and I'm still learning. It's still growing in me. But right now, this is what feels like quite a good way of describing it. The first thing is daring to wear your inner crown. There we go. I've got one here. Daring to put on your inner crown. And the minute you wear it, you stand out a bit from others. And that can be really scary, to be seen like that, to be seen wearing a crown. But what does this crown actually mean? This is about a power within rather than a power over. This is an inner power, being able to walk and talk your truth in the world. The minute I put this on, I'm not sure if you noticed, but my spine goes up straight, the chest opens a bit, the heart is a bit more front and center. So it's about being in touch with our desires, our needs, and our wants, and being able to move towards them. It's about being able to set boundaries and to say no. It's about being able to inhabit our emotional fluency, to move through the range of our emotions without getting overtaken by them. And it's about experiencing all of that, not in some kind of psychopathic, I do what I want, screw you guys kind of Cartman way. It's about having all of that and being able to sense and respond, staying connected to the world the whole time, staying connected. And actually, Kat, would you put that slide up for me of the tiger? Because I love the tiger. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot there, Kat. I was going to do this.
I'm handing that one to Joyce. I think Joyce is
Okay,
to that.
great.
We'll get it up. Don't worry.
We'll get it up. So I love this picture we're about to see. There's this sense of inner power which is truthful but not so reactive. Like if someone comes to you and they start shouting at you, it's very easy to go into this defensive shouty mode. But it's something else to just be able to respond without reacting, but firmly and clearly. Now, I love this tiger. Some of you might have seen Ilan Stefani's presentation. She was talking to people about, feeling the tiger. Yeah, I love it. This tiger is powerful and whole and relaxed. It's not doing anything to please other people. It's connected to itself. It's sensing and responding to the world. So there's this inner power. It's not threatening, but it's powerful and it's whole. And that's why I wanted to show you this tiger. Give me a shout if you enjoy tigers. If you like the tiger, pop that in the chat. Thanks, Joyce. Can we come back to the main screen now? Thank you. I'm going to take this off for now, and I'm gonna put it out into the internet so you guys can now wear your inner crowns for the rest of this presentation and maybe beyond. So why do we need embodied sovereignty? Like, surely as human beings, this is so important. This should be built into the way that we behave. Now, what I love about Gabor Mate, I mean, there's so much I love about him. He puts it so simply. He puts it like this. As humans, we have two fundamental needs: the need for attachment to others and the need to be authentic with ourselves. And as we're born, we need that connection to others, right? We rely on our parents or adults to feed us and clothe us and protect us and look after us. We're not able to feed ourselves, and we learn when we do certain behaviors that the adults like us and want us around, and people want to be with us. And when we do other behaviors, we get rejected. And this rejection can feel like death. Let's put in the chat. What does it feel like to you when you're rejected by someone? It's just what does it feel like to be rejected? Yeah, shrinking, self-hate, shame, painful, devastating. Inner world crumbles, loss. I fear I'm a bad person, misery, disappointed, especially when I put my soul into it. Yeah. Feels like falling down a cliff, diminishing, unworthy. Yes. Start to reject myself, death. Feeling a failure, not valuable enough, self-loathing. Yes. I relate to all of those. I relate to all of that. We learn to reject others. That's a great defense. So what I want to say is that is painful. And our personalities develop in order to avoid pain and to move towards, let's say, comfort a bit more. So we learn to avoid rejection by behaving in a way that we think other people are going to like and accept and love. And this is a very clever and useful and good strategy, especially as children. This is really important for us. But we get a bit older and the need for authenticity starts to show up, because we realize, oh, I'm not doesn't really feel like myself. Pretending to be vegan. I mean, I'm not really vegan, but I'm not sure if I really want to be vegan to be in this relationship with this person. You know, maybe that's not quite me, or maybe I don't really want to do these things. Like, I remember, and this wasn't that long ago, I spent about two years with this one particular group of people, trying really hard to fit in and take on all their opinions and viewpoints. And I was so focused on that. And after a couple of years, I realized I don't actually like these people. I don't actually agree with a lot of their worldview and opinion. And this just feels weird. You know, has anyone had an experience like that? Please pop that in the chat. This idea that, yeah, we are painfully, we avoid our authenticity in order to fit in. Yeah, great. So this is a problem. We are not taught how to be authentic, and it's a risk to be authentic. We don't want to be rejected. We don't get that muscle trained, and because we don't get that muscle trained, basically there's a level at which we switch from being able to be authentic and we go back into our default pattern. And because we're not stretching these authenticity muscles and taking the risks and doing all of that, the level of intensity it takes to switch us into our default pattern can be quite low. And what is a healthy thing for us to do is to stretch that range. If you're with me, can you let me know in the chat that you're with me on this? Thanks. And if we really want to show up and look after ourselves in the world, well, we need to look after ourselves in the world. And so we need to be authentic. So we need to know how to look after our own needs and our wants and our desires. And if we're shutting them down the whole time in order to fit in with others, we can end up feeling very strange and disconnected. In order to have healthy connection with others, as I mentioned before, we need to be able to set limits. We need to be able to talk about what we actually desire. And I want to give you a little, this might be a little sound bite. Authenticity is the lube for connection. Authenticity is the lube for connection. So if we really want to connect authentically with others, we need to be able to be authentic and say truthfully what we want and what we don't want. So, and when we do this, our relationships can flourish. When we can, there's a lovely little German story. Unfortunately, I don't know the German for it. I could do it in a German accent maybe, but it's along the lines of there's a couple, and every day the man goes and buys a bagel and gives his wife the top half of the bagel for 20 years. That's the part that he really likes. And so he gives it to her. And for 20 years, she accepts the top half of the bagel, even though she prefers the bottom half of the bagel. And she thinks that she's doing it for him, you know, and it's really messy. Like it's just not how we want to live. I don't think it's good to live like that. I think it's good to be honest and clear. When we get in our authenticity, in our embodied sense of sovereignty, we carry it with us. We're wearing our inner crown. It can become invisible. Then we start feeling safer around other people. I used to have great anxiety around being in groups. Are they going to like what I do? Are they not going to like me? Should I do this to fit in? Should I do that? All my energy was out there worrying about fitting in, and none of it was just in the body, relaxing into the body, being in the body. When we settle into this embodied sovereignty, we are okay to be with others. We feel safer around others. And here's the flip side of that, which is really important as well. Other people start to feel safer around us. If people can see that we have good, clear boundaries, that when we say no, they can trust our no. When we say yes, they can trust our yes. they find it easier. The nervous system settles and relaxes. And again, we can cultivate more connection. So if you're with me so far, please do say so in the chat. And let's have a look at that. There's going to be some time for questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, pop them in the Q&A box. Thank you, Dr. Yasin. Cool. Let's have a look at one of the first common blocks to embodied sovereignty. And one of the first blocks is around permission. You know, am I allowed to ask for what I want? Am I allowed to do what I need to look after myself? Am I allowed? Do I have permission? And in order to look at this question, I want to look at the idea of taking. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I invite you to close your eyes and consider this word take. Take. And what connotations does this take have? What does it mean to you to take something, or if someone takes something? How does it feel? What is this idea of taking? What's the first thing that comes to mind? And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and pop in the chat. What words, what connotations do you have with taking? Contraction, grabbing, the other loses. Sudden, aggression, it's rude, heavy, greedy, horrible, not allowed. Holding on. One way is I take, the other loses. Selfishness, not well seen. Greed, aggression, used. Selfish, a lot of selfish. Pull, not yours. Mine, win, lose. Non-consensual. Courageous, someone loses out. Forced, not allowed. Bad girl, I disassociated. There's a reference to the Wheel of Consent there. Amazing. I'm very grateful to Betty Martin and the Wheel of Consent. I recommend everyone looks at her work and gets her new book as it comes out. Selfish, ripping something away. I can't stop thinking about bagels, says Kat. So, okay, just let's take a moment to reflect on that. I'd say 95% roughly of those comments seem to like negative connotations, being egoistic to take. This is really interesting, and this is how our culture frames this. I don't know if any of you had this experience. Like in England, we used to do a Sunday dinner, a Sunday lunch, and if there's one roast potato left and you want that potato, instead of taking it, we were taught to offer it to everyone else first. You know, do you want it? I hope not. Do you want it? I hope not. Do you want it? And eventually, only if no one else wanted it, then we were allowed it, because we were taught to put everyone else first. Now, there's something noble in putting others first, but I'd say it's come at the cost of making it hard for us to look after ourselves, because sometimes we need to put ourselves first. And what we can see with these words is that it's not good associations with taking. So let's have a look at reframing taking a little bit. So I invite you again to close your eyes, and relax a bit more, and think about your own needs in looking after yourself, and what kind of ways could you take in a way that you need, that is healthy for you, that you look after yourself? What kind of taking can be involved there? For example, like taking a nap, taking a break. Let's have a look at what positive connotations we have around the word taking. Let's focus on those. When you're ready, I'd like to open your eyes and write in the chat. Taking moments to yourself, taking the space that you deserve. Take time, quality time, time for self. Taking rest, taking time off social media, take a breath, take a risk, take a walk, take care, taking my turn, taking my rights, yeah, taking my space, taking my space. One of the things I really like to teach with embodied sovereignty is about, it's kind of like saying I matter. It's kind of saying I matter. When our boundaries crossed and we get angry, we're basically saying, look, I matter, my thoughts and feelings matter. And this feels like an important message to me because we're taught a lot, you don't matter, your thoughts don't matter, or that it's selfish to think that you matter. So taking my love, take my truth, taking my power back, taking what I need, taking stance, taking what makes me happy, taking my sexuality. So I want to think about this idea a bit of taking as a way that is healthy, that helps us to look after our own needs, and to split it from the idea that it's always taking something from someone else, taking for ourselves. And what we find is the clearer that we can be about taking what we need and desire, the better we get at actually being able to serve others. There's this kind of shadow around it, this feeling like if I avoid taking and put everyone else first, I'm a good person. It's not true. We still have our needs and wants and desires. And if we're not good at asking for them, not good at being able to move towards them, they still need to get and be met in another way. And so we develop all these other strategies, like, oh, I love this one, being passive aggressive. Anyone ever get passive aggressive instead of asking for what they want? Write it in the chat. Yeah, that's a wonderful one. Thinking the other person should know and then resenting them for not doing it. That's a great one. Another one of my favorites is making statements. Your tiramisu looks really nice. And hoping that the other person asks for it. The other person will offer it. So here's the thing. This idea of taking that we think is so selfish and terrible, that has all these connotations, gosh, it's like it's a route into authenticity and connection. Now, there's a difference between stealing, taking without consent, and taking the things that you need. I want to make that really clear. I'm not advocating going around stealing stuff. Okay. Yeah, it's funny because when I grew up, my parents were really, really bad, especially my dad, a lovely English man. He's finds it impossible to ask for things directly. He always hints and goes sideways, and it drives me crazy. If anyone can relate to that, please let me know. Yeah, great. So we've played a bit with this idea of taking, and the next time you're considering whether you should have that last date, medjool date, or whether you should have that nap, or take the space you need to center and ground yourself before going back into the chaos of looking after your children, or the work meeting, or whatever it is. I want to invite you to imagine you're wearing your inner crown, and think, if I was a wise and noble ruler of myself, how would I behave here? How would I respond here? And take the time to consider that. Okay, we've talked about that block. let's talk about the next block, which is our ability to feel. Yeah, I want to invite you, if you want, take a little stretch. Oh, a little move your body, invite you to move however feels good for you. You're all on mute, so you can make a little noise. Oh. Oh. It's nice to see what's going on in the chat there. Being a people pleaser, we can get we can get passive aggressive. Yes, if we don't get our needs met one way, we still try and get them met in another way. Okay, let's talk about desire. I want to play a game in a moment called Desire Tennis. There are two people who would like to play that. It's going to be very platonic and very, very simple. But if you would like to play Desire Tennis, it will take probably four or 5 minutes. Then please let Kat know. And whilst we're arranging that, I want to talk about this ability to feel. So there's a difference between what we need to be healthy, happy, whole, our basic needs, our more advanced needs, what we want, or what we would like, and what we desire. These are all, but they're all on this scale of inflow of information, this ability to feel. In order to get in touch with actually what we need to be available to feel things. And what tends to happen is, as children, we try things, we reach out, we want to touch things, we want to put mud in our mouths and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And our parents say, no, don't do that, don't touch that. Later on, we want things, we desire things, and we're told we can't have it, or we can't ask for it, or it becomes painful. And what can happen is, again, our personality is adapting to help us avoid pain and move towards comfort, move away from discomfort. So what that can mean is our ability to feel things and to notice what we need or want or desire can get really shut down. The numbing out avoids pain, but it also shuts down our ability to feel pleasure, which can shut down our ability to actually know what we need. So please pop in the chat if you ever find it difficult to know what you want. Please let me know if that rings true for you. Do you ever find it hard to know what you want? Yeah.
Just to let you know, Adam, we have two Joes willing to play Desire Tennis. Is it just two people you need, or more?
Oh, we can let's stick with two. Kat,
okay, great.
thank you.
Do their cameras need to be on, or is it all right if they're off?
They can be off. I think it's more fun for people watching if they can see them on the screen, but if they don't want that, that's absolutely fine.
Oh, all
okay.
Right.
So what we got, better at knowing. Some days I don't have a true sense of it. Yeah. All the time. It's hard to know what we want. This is our second block, is that we don't know what we want. We find it hard to know what we want. So in order to get in touch with what we want, we need to open up again this channel of feeling. Now, there's some great embodied exercises that we can do around this, some feeling exercises. I recommend watching Betty Martin's presentation. I think she might be doing one of those. But in the meantime, I want to do more of a verbal exercise here. So where are the two Joes? Is it Joe Flannery and Joe Brierley? Welcome, Joes.
Hi.
Unmute yourselves.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hi.
Loud and clear.
Good.
So I'd like to invite you to play a little exercise called desire tennis. And it's very simple. You'll take it in turns to say in one sentence or so something that you love, that you enjoy. And it can start with, I'm going to give an example. I love to peel a blood orange and sniff the citrus up my nose. I love the smell of that. And you'll take it in turns to go back and forth. And we're going to let it run for a few minutes. And in the chat, everyone else, I want you to notice, how does it feel to hear these desires and wants? All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to go?
Okay.
Yeah, go
Shall
first.
I go? Go. I love to swim and close my eyes and feel the water and then open them and see the light twinkling through.
I love to get into bed when the sheets have been changed and they're all fresh and clean and new.
I love lying with my cats and listen to them purr and feel their soft fur touching me all over.
I love walking in woods and I love walking barefoot in crispy autumn leaves.
I love showering outside in nature at the festival, feeling the hot water touch my skin and being able to see the trees in the distance.
I love the pleasure I feel at when I've discovered a new series on Amazon or Netflix, and then I kind of have this real.
This is going great, and I want to continue. I want to invite you to, after the other person has said their one, take a breath before you say your one. Okay? Thank you. Please continue.
Yeah. I love waking in the middle of the night, knowing there's chocolate in the cupboard and going there half asleep and eating it guiltily in bed and tasting the intensity of this chocolate induced sleep and the guilt that comes with that.
I have a new to me cat, and she comes in the morning to try to get me to feed her, and she puts this little paw comes out and goes. So the actual feeling of another being softly touching my face. It's wonderful.
I love it when my daughter spontaneously hugs me or gives me love or asks for love or just touches me.
Lovely. Do you want to do one more, and then we'll bring that to a close?
Yes, I love it when I've got a nice cup of tea and either a packet of biscuits or a bar of chocolate, and permission is granted to go and sit on the sofa and not be a good girl or the right person or whatever, and just sit there and scoff.
I love yoga. I love sometimes how it makes me feel. You can't always tell whether it'll happen, but when it does, it's so yum.
Thank you so much, Joe Briley and Joe Flannery. Thank you. If we could, I invite everyone to send them some thanks for taking part in the exercise. Thank you so much. And what was that like for you to listen to? How did you notice anything in your body? What was going on with your mind? Change of energy, wonderful to hear. Happy feelings, delightful. soothing, heartwarming, relaxed, full heart, calming and not greedy, made me delighted, harmony, lovely, warmth, jealous, great, great, love that, abundant, awaken the senses, wish to be more connected to my own desires. Yeah. Well, this is a really simple exercise. Our bodies are designed to feel, our skin is designed to feel and sense in the world. And as I mentioned before, we tend to shut down that ability. We shut down that link between our hands and our desires and the way that we think and act in the world. And this simple exercise, I recommend you could do this with a partner, a romantic partner. You could do it with a friend. You can do it with anyone. You can actually do this by yourself. You could sit down and make a list of things that you enjoy. Take a breath after each one. If you want to make sounds, that can be really nice as well, to get in touch with that feeling of it. So this ability to feel is absolutely important in our sense of embodied sovereignty. And this is simply one way that we can get in touch with it. And when we're in touch with it, it gives us more permission to move towards it. Some people ask, what if the things that I desire I can't have, I'm never going to get? And there's a value in feeling it anyway, in honoring that desire anyway, by acknowledging it. The alternative is to squash it down and not feel it. And that shuts down our ability to feel. But when we can at least acknowledge it, it's healthy, it's nourishing for us, it's nourishing for our sense of sovereignty, even if it's something we can never have. I'd like to take some questions soon. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A. And
so on that, Adam, panelists, so people who are up in the room here with us won't be able to access the Q&A. You guys can just private message me the questions that you've got and I'll gather them together.
Great. And I'd like to talk, someone mentioned that they felt jealous hearing someone else's desires. Again, that's a natural reaction to it, and a way of protecting ourselves from the pain of feeling perhaps our inability to feel those things, or our disconnection from it. And it's okay to feel that. In the work that I do and with embodied sovereignty, and I think in the wider world, it feels really, really important to make space to be allowed to feel our feelings, especially when we see them as negative. It's important that we can talk about things and bring our whole authenticity. When we pile so much shame around things like jealousy or taking or making mistakes, then it becomes impossible to bring them into our relationships and resolve them. It becomes something else. We're expending energy on it. I imagine it a bit like having an inflatable in the swimming pool, and you're trying to keep it under the water, you're trying to push it down, but the whole time the air is making it want to rise up, and so much energy has to go in like pretending that we don't have all this stuff, that we become much less present, it becomes much more difficult to connect. So I think, Kat, I'm ready to take a question or so now.
Yeah, we have the questions are rolling in. And I'm celebrating you for getting the most people in the panelist room. There's something about your warmth. Everyone wants to come into the space with you. So we had a question from Richard, which is, what's your daily schedule like from waking up in the morning to going to bed at night?
I don't think that's I don't have a really interesting answer. Would you want like a kind of Yeah, I'm from 7:05. I pretend to be a tiger, and for 5 minutes. I don't have a good answer for that.
I'm just supposing if that question is about in order to embody your sovereignty, like what
Ah,
during the day maybe that help you access this state of embodied sovereignty?
okay. Well, one thing I want to say is there's always something which is really hard. There's always situations where it's really hard. So it's not about you do this and that, and then all day you're fine every day. I do think it's good to spend time with yourself, whether that's a quiet meditation or something, space where you can sit and accept yourself, accept every part of you, all the bits that we're, like I say, we're trying to fight with, sitting for 10 minutes, half an hour in the morning, and just being okay with it. Just sitting there on the earth and accepting everything as it is. I think that's a very powerful practice.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Richard quantified and said he meant sort of your spiritual practice. So I guess that's what you're talking about. Acceptance and
Yeah, acceptance.
okay, and we had a question from Dr. Yassine, which is how do you start to really find your authenticity and what you want when you've spent a lifetime people pleasing?
Oh, such a great question. I'd recommend starting with some of these desire practices. I recommend I find it very useful to do these things with other people if you can. If you can't do it by yourself, but if you can, work with other people, because something that I find in workshops opens things up so much is when people realize they're not the only person in the world who has that particular shame or that particular feeling or that particular difficulty or that particular desire, and something opens up. The desire tennis that we played in my course, we played that with groups of 6 people going round and round and round and round in a circle again and again and again, and it keeps opening and opening and opening like a flower. I recommend there's great people doing work on this. I recommend Betty Martin, absolutely, and her work, and the work that I'm doing is all about this as well.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And Betty's session is later on today, tomorrow, depending on what time you're on this channel. So we'll post a link to that. We had a question from Karen about what happens when your desires are incompatible with those around you. What do you do in that situation?
Then we celebrate the opportunity to be authentic with each other. And so here's the thing. Connection is not all about let's all want the same thing forever and we'll dance and have ice creams on the beach riding around unicorns and we're going to hug everyone. It's about these bits where there's a friction between people. It's about what is it like when I want something different to this person, and can I talk about that, and can I accept their no, and can I accept their no as a gift that means they respect me enough to say they don't want that, instead of fobbing me off with an excuse, instead of doing it anyway and feeling uncomfortable about it, instead of lying to me. Can I accept that as a gift, which also means now that we are in more authentic relation to each other, because we've now established some bit where we don't agree and we can explore other things. I think it's the best kind of learning thing ever, is when we don't agree. And you know what? It means that we can stop looking for it in that place. If we really want this desire fulfilled and we can't get it done here, okay, so now we're free to look somewhere else, to do it for ourselves, to explore other options, to explore what it is to be a human in the world that's sensing and feeling. Like, I'm really into octopuses at the moment. Just I love all the tentacles and 2,000 suckers they can feel individually with. I just love that. All squishy.
Yeah, there's an amazing YouTube video of an octopus just escaping through this tiny hole. He just kind of squeezes himself through this tiny hole and gone, pleasing himself. We had a question from Krista. What is your favorite embodiment posture or pose, or your embodied? Sorry, I'm going to start again. What's your favorite embodying the sovereign pose? So what's your favorite body position to come into if you're embodying sovereignty?
That's a good question.
Great question.
So I really like the yes pose and the no pose, and actually right now I'm having some inspiration for a new pose, and I might try it now and see what it's like. So so I've actually got one leg slightly bent, my feet fairly close together, and then the arms are out like the yes pose, and the head is straight. And it feels a lot like the yes and the giving, but it's kind of light on the feet. I think it's something to do with this connection I feel to the fool archetype, the Joker archetype, and there's a lightness about it, this ability to move and be nimble and be giving and loving at the same time.
Nice, thanks, Adam. Thanks for sort of demoing it as you're working with it. I think that's really nice to see. We have a yep.
Yeah, I was just looking at one in the Q&A about being selfish.
Yeah, that was coming next. Great.
Oh, great. I think this is an amazing question. So here's the thing. People around us in our lives are not used to us necessarily showing up in our fullness and saying what we want. And I think I find this a lot in sort of sometimes in spiritual communities on Facebook, for example. This shame that we talked about around taking up space or taking what I need can be really strong. And this projection of being selfish. So this is a really good question. What can I do in this situation? If you need help with something, ask for help. Talk to someone about what's coming up for you, your feelings and your needs and your desires. Really get in touch with what's going on. Secondly, explore, titrate. What is it like to be firm and clear? What does it feel like to say no? What is it like to set your boundary? How does it feel? What you'll find is not everyone will be happy about you starting to inhabit yourself more, to take up the space and time that you need. And you might find that your relationships start to change. You might lose contact with some people and start making contact with other people. It's a bit of a journey, this authenticity versus safety, attachment. Like the attachment, we know, even quite often we want to stick to the attachment even if it's not healthy for us, because we know it, and out there is the great wide unknown ocean. So I'd say take little steps. Start going out to the ocean and coming back, going a bit further and coming back. Start spreading yourself out a bit more. Notice how it feels, and if you can, talk to other people about it and ask for any support that you need. But explore what's it like to be clear. How does it feel?
Great. We had a lot of love coming in for desire tennis, and a few people asking if you've got any other sort of desire practices that are your go-tos.
Yeah, great question. I do like the physical ones. I think Betty might be teaching this later. Actually, it's called Waking Up the Hands, and it's a practice that she created, and it's literally about getting your hand, resting it on your lap, taking any object, and touching it, stroking it, feeling that inflow of information, leaning back, breathing, becoming really aware of it. Like I love that. I love self-touch practices. That can be really nice. I also recommend to reframe how you experience the world. I didn't see Sebastian Foucault's session yet, but I love the way they run around on everything. Now, before COVID, I'm in London here, and when I'm on the underground, I love to like hang off things and press myself on things and squeeze and touch things. And I recommend to make requests if you have a partner or friends and you want to try something out. Just experiment with what's right for you.
We have time for one more question, I think, before we do closing announcements and then come back to you, Adam. I can just choose one, or you can choose one. What would you prefer?
You choose one, Kat.
So we have one from Susan, which has been upvoted. Recognizing your own needs is one thing, but how to claim and communicate them effectively. It's so awkward when we don't have much experience with it. It can come across as too aggressive or too apologetic due to a lack of skill and practice. What is your reflections on that and any suggestions?
Okay, so I want to say, Susan, I relate to that so much. So I used to never ask for what I wanted, and then I'd get so resentful, and then I'd sort of make these outbursts that seemed really weird and odd. So I really have experienced that. So what do we do about that? I think it's about practicing. It's about practicing. It's, again, start with something small. Start with people that you really trust and love and uphold the goodness in you. Secondly, you can create a safer space to communicate in by just saying, look, I've been experiencing some feelings around this and I'd like to talk to you about them. Would that be okay? And I'm a big, strong believer in non-violent communication as a way of learning to communicate our needs. And we go back to, in that we understand what our needs are and communicate those, rather than asking the other person to do a specific action or stop doing something. And my colleague, who's also on the Togetherness faculty, Ron DeBrito, is doing a session tomorrow, I think, on non-violent communication, how it can transform intergenerational trauma. So I do recommend reading Marshall Rosenberg's book. I do recommend practicing, and I recommend creating as much safety as you possibly can. All the work that I do, I'm always saying how, okay, we're in here together now. This is a human connection laboratory, and we're allowed to find it awkward and to make mistakes. And we need to simply practice and stretch our muscles so that we can deal with more and more intensity to stay with our authenticity in the world.
Can we have the name of that book again, Adam?
Yeah, it's called, I think it's called Compassionate Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. In fact, let me see, I think I've got it over here.
Cool, we'll try and find a link to it while you're doing that.
Okay. Here it is. Good old Marshall Rosenberg, amazing, amazing man. And I think this is really important, the work he does in understanding behind every conflict, there are unmet needs. And I'd like to see personally, I think if we really want to create connection in the world, I think that's what we need to focus on. Instead of focusing on our differences, we need to look at what is similar between us. What are the needs that are going on? Thanks, Kat.
Oh, I so don't want to get you to wrap up, Adam, but we have to move on. I'm just going to make a couple of announcements to folks now, and then we'll come back to Adam for the final words. I should know all this off by heart now, but I still have to look at my list. So, first of all, obviously, massive thank you to Adam for the session. It was a wonderful mix of conversation and practice and play. I also want to thank our amazing tech host, Joyce, who's been doing all the posting and linking and making all the magic happen in the background, and the rest of the team who put the conference on. We're going to post a bunch of links now a few times for you to find out where our Facebook group is, so you can carry on the conversation. or the coffee breaks that happen in the portal, where it's a space you can go and kind of hang out with other participants between the sessions. We're also posting Adam's website a few times here and on the Facebook feed, so you can find out more about Adam's work and a short link to a program that Adam is running coming up soon. Maybe you want to mention something about that in a second, Adam. Last but not least, you know that this recording is free for 48 hours. After that time, you can purchase the recording of this one, the channel, or the whole conference. There's a couple of reasons why you might want to do that, right? So there's a lot of content coming at you right now, and not a huge amount of time to just kind of sit with it and absorb it and practice it and play with it. And so buying the recordings gives you that. It means that you can reflect on the session with Adam, you can play a bit of desire tennis with someone you know. So that's one reason why you might want to buy the recordings. The other reason is just as a thank you to the team, which is sort of heavily staffed by volunteers, actually, whose passion is getting embodiment out to as many people as possible. And so if you can afford it, you can buy the recordings, and that just helps us continue to do that work and get this important stuff out to as many folks as possible. I think that's it from me. I'm going to, I just want to, we've mentioned it a few times, but Betty Martin is on this channel later on today. We'll post the link to that. That's 8 o'clock UK time. And some other sessions going into the evening. You can check the schedule for that. We are going to come back to Adam now and ask Adam, like we're asking all of our presenters. Adam, what is your top tip for staying embodied?
Always be in your own body. And if you can't be in your own body, be in the body of a tiger. Get playful. Wow. Spend 5 minutes as a tiger in the morning. Jump on your bed. Yeah, be a tiger. That's my tip.
That's my favorite tip, and I think that's what we should all do as we close this session. So I'm just going to invite people to spend 5 seconds being a tiger, and then Joyce is going to close the session. And Adam, if you need to reach out to me afterwards, you can do. All right. Okay, everyone, put on your tiger. Give me your best tiger.